But what's going on, James? What's going on, Carmi? How y'all doing?
Good, man. So, looking forward to NCAA football tomorrow, man. I don't know if y'all play video games. I'm pumped about that. Midsummer right here, talking with you guys. I'm having a good time. Everything's all good.
Hey, I'm just chilling. I don't do the video games like that I used to. My kids got grown, and I kind of faded away when they did. But you know what? The interest is getting peaked back because these graphics continue to get ridiculous and even more realistic. So it's like I might have to just jump my toe back in the game and kind of refresh my skills because I used to beat my son's brains out, both of them beat their heads in. But then they got really good and they kind of retired me. But I might have to come back out of retirement.
Yeah, we're going to have to get you out of retirement for this NCAA game. Yeah. It looks crazy. It definitely looks crazy. Telling my girl and everything. She hates it, but it is what it is. I love it. It's fun. But today we're going to, like I said, talk about these quarterbacks. But we were having a good conversation before we went live. And I kind of want to continue that because it's funny, me and George were on here a little bit earlier talking, and we were kind of talking about it. And then when James got on, he gave his 2 cents. And I think this is a good conversation. So I want to kind of reword the conversation. And I want to ask you guys, because what I said to George was that I feel like between us three, we have what he said was A, B, and C. And I think it was a good way of saying it. You have the Eagles, who to me have all the pieces that you got to figure out if you're going to put it out on field. You got to figure out how it's going to all work out. I think you look at the Commanders, they're a young, up and coming, possibly team rebuilding. It's interesting to see where they go. And then the Cowboys, I feel like it's interesting as well because there's a lot of expectation and it's kind of what's going to actually happen. How bad can it get or how good can it get for the Cowboys? So I think it's kind of like right in the middle. I want to start with you, James, because you already kind of giving me that side eye. Like I feel like you was I'm not trying to take a shot. You see how I try to work around that?
No, you're not taking a shot at all. Actually, I was going to say the word is the great unknown. I don't think we have the expectations this year. I would say it's the great unknown because you have a lot of unknowns going into the season. You still haven't signed Dak Prescott. You still haven't signed CeeDee Lamb. You're going in a new system with a new defensive coordinator. You still haven't addressed the defensive tackle position. And you have a coach that's on a 1-year deal, and that's unknown. If he's going to extend, you don't know if it extends. So to me, this team is the great unknown. So I felt like you phrased it perfectly, but I'm going to say the great unknown makes that a little better because I agree. I think the Commanders are going to be maybe I'm going to say up and coming for I told y'all I feel Quinn is that couple years guy. So I feel like those first couple years, they'll really surprise some people. And I feel like you guys have the talent on paper. So even though Dallas won the division last year, you guys could be the favorite just on paper by looking at all the additions that you have, the people that you have brought in, and obviously the new coordinators. So there's a lot of pressure on your team, as we were talking about behind the scenes. You have a lot of pressure because you have that all-star team. Expectations are through the roof, but you have two new different coordinators. And I feel like the heat is on Sirianni, whether people want to say it or not. He's been from the playoffs every single year, but I feel like the pressure is on because you have this talent, you have new coordinators. So now we're going to see how good of a coach you really are.
And I want to kind of continue that because I know we're going to talk about the Commanders and the Eagles as well. But y'all hate Nick. Why do y'all hate Nick so much?
He fake tough.
I'm right there with you. Right? We talked about it offline. I think Nick, he is, for lack of a better word, he has a punchable face, in my opinion. He's loud, he's in the camera, he's dancing, he talks too much, right? If he can kind of lay low and kind of do what he needs to do, he'll be okay. But he just doesn't come off. He doesn't interview well. He doesn't necessarily he's unlikable, in my opinion. I guess if he's like he's the villain, maybe he's the kind of guy where if he's on your team, you're proud to have him on your team. But like if you watch him from afar, you're not necessarily a fan. I'm trying to think of like an NBA player like that, or like a NFL.
Draymond Green.
Draymond Green, yeah. If he's just on your team and he's kind of fighting for you, like all right, he's diving for loose balls. You like Draymond Green, but when you're watching him on TV, you're not a fan. That's kind of Sirianni comes off like that to me. That's what I'm feeling. Good call, James.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. I just feel like, and what do we say about with Draymond? He fake tough guy because when you go against the Ron Artest of the world, when you go against some other bullies that I've seen you go against, you didn't wail and throw your hands. You You didn't flail and kick people in their nuts. You didn't smack people. You didn't smack Ron Artest. You didn't smack some of them other big guys that we seen in them streets that you ain't gonna do nothing because they about that life too. And they ready for that drama. But you do that to the Javeskis or Carl Tile and the Rudy Goberts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll do that to them, and we look at you like, yeah, that ain't nobody to be jumping up and down for. Everybody can beat our Rudy Gobert. You get what I'm saying? So that
James,
ain't nothing.
there's a funny meme about that. There's levels of crazy, right? And there was like a little GIF, like a 1 minute clip of it, and it was like Draymond Green acting big and tough, and then basically they had a Ron Artest walking into the video. And he's the alpha dog. He's like the big king of the jungle. And like God damn, he got scared when he saw Ron Artest. There's levels of crazy. Ron Artest is like the peak level of that. So
you feel me? You ain't doing what Anthony Mason's and the Charles Oakley. You ain't doing that, and don't nobody believe it. So I feel like that's how he comes off. And guess what? Draymond Green is a very good player, right?
Yeah.
But because you act like that, it takes away from that. And I feel like that's what Sirianni is. I think he's a good coach, but I think those antics take away from his coaching, and people look at that and just basically dismiss him now because you're doing too much. Just coach your team and win, and that's okay because we all see through that stuff.
Yeah, I will say you guys said that he does a little bit too much sometimes, and I agree with that. I think different things kind of trigger me a little bit. I don't want to even say trigger me, but maybe rub me a little wrong. Pause. Maybe like the t-shirts, stuff like that. Like stuff like that. It's maybe doing a little bit too much, but I'm okay with the emotion. I'm okay with you going crazy on the sideline. I'm cool with that. I kind of feel like that's who he is. I think last year showed he might not be the offensive, mastermind that we thought he is. And defensively, he doesn't really do much as far as scheming and stuff like that goes. So I think that's what he is. I think he's the emotion. He's the leader. He's the guy that kind of wears his heart on his sleeve. But I could see, especially the Draymond Green comparison, that actually kind of made a lot of sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. An Eagles fan said I got that Forrest Whitaker eye.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm Draymond Green too, I guess. But no, I get that. I definitely get that. I didn't know Jacoby Jones passed away.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen that today. That threw me off because I didn't even see that he died or passed away. But I seen a person in the chat, in Twitter, that said gone too soon, and I seen him running, and I was like, "What?"
40 years old, man. 40 years old. Sad.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
That is
but
insane.
Hey, life is short out here.
Very short. Rest in peace to Jacoby Jones, man. That is crazy, man. That is crazy. Whew. That's tough, man. But all right, so we're gonna, I guess, keep talking about football. But yeah, rest in peace to Jacoby for sure. So I want to go to you now, George. I try to explain the situation as I see it for the Commanders, but you'll probably do a way better job than me. So how do you feel about where the Commanders are right now, and just kind of how you kind of fit in to the NFC East picture?
Yeah, man, we talked about it offline, and I think you nailed it too. I think the reason why our show works and why the NFC is so intriguing is, for one, it's some of the biggest markets in the entire NFL, so it just kind of draws people's eyes for one, right? And then two, each one of our teams are at different levels. I think this is my opinion, right? I think the Eagles are in that win now mode, and there's certain windows where teams can basically win the championship or not, right? The Eagles got Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. They basically have everybody on their team on offense that they could potentially win. Their defense is young and up and coming, right? So the Eagles should be an NFC contender this year on paper, right? It's July, so on paper we'll see what happens, right? My honest opinion, the Cowboys, they're going to be a good team, but they kind of missed their opportunity about a year or two ago, right? I think they were the number one seed, James. I know you can tell me if they were high up there. Number one seed, they were 12-5, walking in. They won the division. They were loaded. Zeke Williams actually was pretty good with Tony Pollard as a backup, change of pace back. They were loaded, and they were about to win on cheap contracts, and they did not do that. Like, actually, they didn't do well in the playoffs. They got knocked out. So now things are every year slowly kind of knocking little pieces off of their, off the plate. Like wide receivers are leaving, certain defensive players are leaving, coordinators are leaving now. The Cowboys are kind of at a fork in the road, right? Like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons. How are you going to afford all three of them? You got to make a move on one. Like, to me, you got to keep the quarterback, in my opinion, but I don't know if the Cowboys agree with that. But Micah Parsons might leave, who I think is dominant. CeeDee Lamb's great. So, if the team kind of flops this year, I could see major changes. And maybe that's just me being, maybe McCarthy getting fired. I don't know if that's even on the table, but like certain players leaving, I can see that. So that's why I think the Cowboys are very intriguing this year. And then with the Commanders, they're a complete unknown. I think they're the unknown, right? I think Jaden Daniels kind of brings he has that aura. He's a Heisman Trophy winner coming in number 2 overall. People want him to be successful because it's kind of like, that's kind of a cool up and coming team to kind of watch. So we'll see what happens there. But then again, Commanders are crazy because, he could be injured very quickly. He's, his knock going into the draft was he's a kind of slight frame. And we don't know about Cliff Kingsbury as well. So in theory, Washington is an up and coming team. Eagles are in that championship window, and the Cowboys could potentially be, their last hurrah. So I think that's why all three of us kind of have our different little niches there, in my opinion.
Yeah. And to kind of round out what I was saying about the Eagles, I think your boy Big Doug kind of said it perfectly. I mean, Eagles' biggest problem right now is coaching. What are they going to do as far as the X's and O's go? I wish we would have been able to keep Steichen, but unfortunately it don't work like that. He got a better opportunity. So, but no, it does come down to that for the Eagles. The Eagles have, again, I'm going to keep on nailing that hammer. We have all the pieces. There's no excuses. You should be able to, you can complain about middle linebacker. You can complain about safety, but at the end of the day, you have a good enough team that on paper, you should be in contention. So it does come down to the coaching for me. It comes down to what they're going to do when it's all said and done. They got to go out there and play football games and they got to finish football games. I think that was the biggest nail in our, thorn in our side last year. It was obviously everybody looks at the collapse and they're just like, oh, they sucked throughout the games. They had leads, they had opportunities to win games. They couldn't finish any of those games. I think Seattle was probably the best, showing of that. We let Drew Lock moonwalk down the field. So somebody's saying no volume. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you guys hear us?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, okay. It might be Mike, maybe get off soft mute, maybe. I see that too.
Yeah,
it might be Mike's issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, what was I saying? Where was I?
Well, let me throw a question.
Drew Lock taking all the way down the field.
Yeah, but yeah, Drew Lock basically moonwalked his ass down the field on us, and that should never happen. That should never happen. But go ahead, George, my bad.
No, I was going to ask you, man. I guess the one concerns, because I actually do believe that the Eagles are going to be pretty good this year. My thing is this: they ended the year 1-6. As an Eagles fan, even to the people that are watching the show, if we hit up the chat. Are you concerned about that? There was a free fall at the end of the year last year. Do you think that's going to kind of carry on into 2024? Or do you think that was kind of like, Jalen Hurts was hurt and, maybe, Sirianni and the coaching staff was kind of pointing fingers? Like, what's the thought on that? How confident? Or is there any shaken confidence, I guess is the better question.
I wouldn't even say shaken confidence, but you have to now kind of go into the season because I'll say it's going to probably hit more if we're 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, if we're having a great, beginning to the year and it's not looking, dominant, because that was a big thing too. And shout out to James. I wouldn't admit it last year, but I've grown over this year. So I admit it now. He was 100% right. You saw it in those wins. You saw how shaky it was in those wins. So if we start seeing stuff like that in the beginning of the year, I think that's when you'll start saying oh, here we go again, and I think once this year, we're a domino away from being absolutely terrible. I truly do believe that. I feel like if something goes bad, something goes wrong, and I think it could just affect the rest of the team, and that could go on Nick Sirianni. I think that because he is the emotional leader. So me personally, I can't speak for everybody. Me personally, I'm always kind of in that we'll see what happens type of mode. But I do think this year you got to be even more cautious, cautiously optimistic, I should say, because you just don't know. I really don't even know what happened last year. I'm going to be 100%. I want to blame, our offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson. I don't feel like he put a good game plan out there. I want to blame I don't even want to blame Sean Desai so much as the switch from him to, I forget what his name was even, Patricia, towards the end of the year. I think you saw a big difference in that defense being a lot worse towards the end of the year. So I think that was a big fault. There's so many things that happen. So it's hard to say, we changed it, we fixed it. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that we're good. I think that we're good, but yeah, I am a little nervous, but I think it'll really hit if we're seeing games kind of going down to the wire like they were in the beginning of last year. Um,
One last question, Joe. I don't want to get
no, you
too off
good.
track. What's the one thing you're the most shaky about for the team? I think for Washington, I think our defense is going to be good. I think I'm kind of worried about our offensive coaches meshing and Jaden Daniels' health. And I think our whole season depends on that. What's the shaky element for the Eagles? What are you worried about there?
I'm the exact opposite. It's my defense. I'm not.
You worried about the defense?
Yeah, I think this offense is the offense is strapped up. God forbid you have an injury, then we reevaluate it then. But defensively, I don't know what we're going to be. Everybody keeps talking about we got Vic Fangio. He's the creator of that defense, and he'll run it a lot better. I don't know if I like that defense that we've been running. So I don't know if it matters that we're bringing in the creator of it. So we'll see. I think that we've played really soft when we've been trying to emulate his system. Maybe he doesn't play it like that. You obviously saw, Miami have a pretty good defense last year. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm mostly worried about the defense. If I had to pick like a side of the ball that I'm worried about, it's going to be the defense. But overall, I think coaching, overall, is just everywhere. Outside of special teams, I think Michael Clay has proved that he's good. But, I don't know what Kellen Moore is going to bring. I don't know what Vic Fangio is going to bring. So I think coaching is probably the overarching concern. But if I'm picking a side of the football, definitely defense. There was a question for James that I wanted to bring up because I thought it was a good one.
Bouncing off. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, bad. I wanted to see how you felt about this because I think this isn't something we talk about a lot, and you have talked about you wanting, especially during the draft, we talked about running backs, but I guess this is what you're going into the season with, I'm assuming. How do you feel about your backfield right now, currently? Shout out to Michael. Hopefully he can hear this answer.
I feel like it needs an upgrade. I've been saying that, and I'm going to stay with it. I wasn't jumping up and down when they brought Ezekiel Elliott back. Y'all don't even know why you cut him if you brought him back. That's the bonehead thing that already, number one, bothers me. Goofiness about that. But you bring him back, and what do you think he's going to do? I mean, he's going to get you some yards. He's going to get you some touchdowns, and he's going to be those guys. He can get some dirty yards for you. We know this. But Dallas needs explosion. You don't have that. Rico Dowdell, he's injury prone. We've seen it again when he had his chance once again. He got hurt again. So now I can't believe that. Deuce Vaughn, he's tiny. I'm sorry, 5'5", 175, 180. Show me Dallas knows how to work that into an incorporation of the offense where he's a factor. I need to see that. So I can't just jump up, we got Deuce Vaughn. I haven't seen y'all be able to work out Deuce Vaughn, and I didn't see him do any significant things. So can't get hyped on Deuce Vaughn. And then you have Royce Freeman. He's a good power back. He's pretty, fairly young, but he's power back. We need explosion. We were hating on Tony Pollard, but we knew what he was. He was the change of pace back. That's why you had Ezekiel Elliott. So it was the why did you cut Ezekiel Elliott for Tony Pollard? Why? Money thing. So that right there just tells you how weak that was when you cut Ezekiel Elliott for money. You signed Tony Pollard for that 1-year deal. You knew you weren't going to re-sign him. I ain't going to start getting mad because that's just corny thinking. That's just, to me, corny thinking of what you just did with that backfield right there. So, yeah, it needs an upgrade, and there were plenty of backs. Marshawn Lloyd, who I've been very adamant against for. Joe, you know that I've been screaming his name from the heritage of the Himalayas, and he was available to get. They did not get him. A lot of people, he was 5'9", 5'10", 225 pounds. So it wasn't like he was a small back built like Ezekiel Elliott, and he got juice. You feel what I'm saying? And now he goes to the Green Bay Packers. I bet you he goes over there and turns up. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we definitely need to upgrade the backfield. And, I was listening to what George said to me. That was very good analysis from my point of view about Dallas. I think that's why I'm not so high on Dallas right now, because there's in the NFL now, it's true. There are windows. Those are real. When you get a team, you have a certain window to win with that team. If not, you're going to have to break it up, start it over, and figure it out. That's the truth in this NFL. And it's usually like 3 or 4, maybe 3 or 4 years for that window. It's maybe because the way these salaries are and the cap, it is. So when I look at 22, 21, 22, and 23, them was our windows, dog, that we had young players, rookie contracts, where you got to win. Everybody knows when you get those guys and you get them on the rookie deals or them, you got to win.
It's all
Because
about rookie quarterback. It's all about rookie quarterback for
you
real.
get
It
them
really is.
lower deals. When you
Mhm.
sign Dak, you still had rookies coming in, you had young deals, you had to win then. And I said it when they drafted Michael Parsons, you better hurry up and win before his contract comes up. You better get to a Super Bowl before his contract comes up, because then you're gonna have to break up the team to pay these dudes. You
Yeah.
feel me? Or you're not going to get the right type of guys. That is the truth. So I don't know. That's why I'm not high right now on the squad, because I feel like you had that window. Now you got a coach in a lame duck season. They don't know. They keep saying they don't know what to do, in my opinion, on this situation, because you got three major dues to pay a lot of money. And I don't care when they say, oh, you can figure it all these other teams do. Yeah, they can, but it's going to cripple other things. It's just the truth. It's going to take away from other things because you are paying a lot of money. Yeah, it will open up things for the quick, but in the long run, it's going to break up the team.
That's like the $1 million question that's going on in DC right now. And I know we have to talk about quarterbacks in a moment, but like Brendan Ayuk, I don't know if you guys are catching it in your different worlds or whatever, but like Brendan Ayuk played with Jaden Daniels at Arizona State. They're like best friends, right? And on the Pivot podcast and these different things, they keep hyping each other up. And there's a lot of movement for Brendan Ayuk to come to DC because we need another wide receiver. Like, Terry McLaurin's pretty solid, but I think Brendan Ayuk is another level on top of that. And I think having both of them would really make Jaden Daniels' transition to the NFL so much better. The thing is, though, like, are we even in that window yet? I guess in theory we're in that window because we're a rookie quarterback. We don't even know if Jaden Daniels is going to be any good, right? So, is it important to pay $30 million for a wide receiver, Brendan Ayuk, and put him on this team when we're already paying $30 million for another, or $20 million for Terry McLaurin? So it's very interesting right now. It's all about windows, and I agree with you, man. It's like that's why the NFL is so awesome. Man. It's like every couple of years, there's like a short little window, and you can do it. Unless you have baby goat like Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid as the coach over there, Andy Reid, sorry, Eagles fans, yeah, that is rare, exactly. So we'll see.
That's crazy.
And you saw even with Andy Reid when he was with Philly, it was a window, and after that window, it was like, okay, well, you know what, coach gone, quarterback gone. You feel me? Y'all had a window. Y'all had a window to win them championships, get to a Super Bowl win. It didn't happen. It broke up. That's what happens. That's what's going to happen with every team, unless you got one of those guys. And it's very rare that you get one of those quarterbacks. It's rare. They're not out there just flying out there. And then Andy Reid was already a good coach. And to me, he got, and the football god shined on him and said, hey, we're going to look out for you now and give you a guy that you can win the championships with because of what you done did. That's what I feel like. Football guys have finally blessed him. You know what I'm saying?
Andy's a real good coach. Andy's always
He's
very
a
good
good
coach.
He's a good coach. He knows how to develop them quarterbacks, and he got the one. And when you're a good ass coach and you get that one quarterback, you seen with Belichick and Brady, you're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
And so that proves the quarterback does matter.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
And
their decisions matter too. Their off-season decisions as far as
but
money
here's
and all that stuff.
Here's the off-season decisions. But here's the thing: it makes it easier when you know you got a franchise type maybe coach and you have a real franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for you to build everything else around your team, because you know what? When you have those guys, you don't have to get the supremely talented receiver. You can get some really good receivers.
Yeah, you're right.
You don't have to get that guy receiver. You can get some really good ones because you got that quarterback that can make them better.
You get the elevator.
You got that coach. You got that coach that can put them in the system to make that system bang. And then now you got that quarterback that's immaculate that can just make them even better. And that's how you win. You get what I'm saying? And that's why everybody's looking for that franchise quarterback. You feel me?
Facts.
Yep.
Facts.
Yep.
And shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We got over 250 people in the chat. Shout out to all y'all, even Trey Fargo's hating ass over here. Even you. Shout out to even you.
What's up, Trey?
Yeah, I miss all y'all, man. Before we get into this, I know this off season has been crazy for everybody in this window right here. We all got lives, but it always surprises me and always, it hits me a little different because y'all always here always 200 plus people going crazy in the chat. So I really do appreciate it. I know my boys do as well. It's always a good feeling to see you guys. So we're going to do what we came here to do. Unless you guys got anything else you want to talk about before we get into that.
I just got one last thing saying,
Yeah.
my opinion. I just feel like, you know what? I don't think this is like maybe last year or maybe it was more runaway. I think this is going to be real kind of tight this year as far as the division because of those unknowns. Just listen to you, Joe, and I'm agreeing with you, dog. I ain't hating, but I just feel like y'all is one thing away from a train wreck. Yeah, and I feel like it's real tense over there, and I think everybody's not really trying to talk about it, and they just kind of been like hoping that hoping everything goes smooth. But I feel like y'all on a stick of dynamite over there for real, and it really can blow up and it could go either way. And I feel like the coaching, like you said, and George said, I think the coaching is the key right here with Sirianni, those new guys. It has to work with Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts. That has to work because we don't know that. And then, like I said, we're unknown. We got so many daggone things of, is the window past? Are they fading now? Do you really need to sign these people? Should you break it up and start it over? You feel me? I think it's right there. And if you have a disastrous season, that's what's going to happen. You're going to break it up. And I feel like that's why there's pause on signing these guys, because they're wondering is it going to blow up? Should we sign these people? You feel me? And Georgia, I think you're in the best situation because now you got time. I feel like they're going to give Dan Quinn grace. You feel me? Dan Quinn going to have grace. And I feel like Jaden Daniels going to have grace. So I feel like there is a window now because there's a grace period because you have talent on the team. So it's excitement with that, and unexpected victories can happen with that because there ain't that pressure.
Yeah. And that's one thing I agree with you, dude. On top of that, one last thing, I love having Harris as our owner, Josh Harris as our owner, as opposed to Dan Snyder, because Dan Snyder was all about money, man, and he had no intention of building the team the right way. With RG3, he was marketed as a savior. He's forced down our throats. We'd see him every single place. If you guys are actually watching the media for the Commanders, they barely even highlight Jaden Daniels. They're trying to keep the expectations low because they don't want to put any pressure on him. I think it's the best way to thrive, right? Let the play on the field, the talk around, let the play on the field get all the kudos and things like that. If he starts off slow, it's okay. He's a rookie, right? And so it's all good. So I kind of like that slow approach and that measured approach, because if you put too much on a rookie too fast, it gets hard, right? So I kind of like this step-by-step thing.
It's going to be interesting. And we obviously all saw where we had Jaden Daniels at the beginning with our list. We'll see if that changes. You know what I'm saying? We'll see if over the year that changes for better or worse. So we are going to go through all these mid quarterbacks. This is our mid-tier of the quarterbacks. I mean, these are good guys. You know what I'm saying? Mid has a bad connotation with it, but these are all good players. I feel like if you're anywhere from 11 to 20, you're a pretty darn good player in the NFL. So shout out to all these guys. It's going to be fun. I'll go first because I know last time I went last. So we'll kind of reverse the situation, I guess. And I'll start at number 19, Anthony Richardson. Honestly, more – the way I did this list is I started from the top and just kind of went with my heart, went with my gut. I didn't sit there and analyze numbers. I just kind of went with, who I thought was there.
I like that, Joe.
Anthony Richardson, he's got every tool. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how he develops. I think that he's in a really good situation with, formerly mentioned Steichen. I think that he's in a good situation with some good players, some good wide receivers out there. So I think that he's a really good player. I'm excited to see what happens. Again, like I said, just athletic freak. I mean, he has the size, speed, the arm. He has everything. So it's just going to be interesting to see how he develops. Could jump into the top 10, 15, could drop all the way down. So who knows? It's going to be fun to watch. At number 18, I got Baker Mayfield. Now, this might be a little high for some people, but I think what Baker did, I live in Tampa, so I was able to kind of watch it. What he did in Tampa was pretty darn incredible. I mean, he was very, very good. Kind of like almost a Geno Smith-esque type year where he was just very, very, very accurate. He ran the offense very well. They overperformed by a lot, in my opinion. So I think that Baker Mayfield, he deserves to be up there. So I got him at 18. Number 17, we talked about Russ. I think that Russell Wilson is very underrated. I think that last year was one of his better years, not removing Seattle years, right? I think that was one of his better years outside of Seattle, and I think that he was starting to kind of figure it out. and I think he got kind of played. So I got him at number 17. At number 16, I got Kirk Cousins. He's good. Kirk Cousins, he puts up a bunch of numbers. If you never watched the playoffs, he would be a god. If you never watched Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, he would be a guy. But he just comes up short in way too many situations. And honestly, he's always had a very good offense around him, in my opinion. Maybe I'm trying to think what Washington receivers he had when he was there. I can't think of off the top of the head. Who did he have?
Garcon, Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, so he had decent guys.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously now
he ain't the guy. He's not the guy.
He's just not. Yeah, he's just not the guy.
He's a distributor.
Yeah. At 15, I got Trevor Lawrence. 15. Honestly, Trevor Lawrence, he can go up or down for me. I think around 15 is perfect. I think he's like right in the middle of good, and but I just don't. There was so much hype, and it's hard to kind of remove myself from all that hype that was surrounded around Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that he's lived up to that. You know what I'm saying? So I have to put him at 15. Number 14, Brock Purdy. I think that he's a good player. He's going to win you games. He's going to figure things out. I don't think that he's an elite talent, but I do think that he's a really good player, and again, he's just, some people just like even Tom Brady. You look at Tom Brady, I don't feel like he had the strongest arm. He was a very smart quarterback, knew where to put the ball, knew how to run the system. I think Brock Purdy has a lot of those qualities. He's not, obviously Tom Brady, but he has a lot of those same qualities. And then at 13, kind of I guess controversial. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Tua lately, saying that he's only good because of Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, which that definitely contributes to it. Don't get me wrong, but we've seen to lay that ball out there for them. That's not easy to throw it to somebody that can run that fast. And we've seen other players with other great with other great wide receivers not be able to deliver. So I think that Tua is a very good quarterback, and we saw the difference when he got hurt. I think that's the biggest thing for him is his availability. He gets hurt a lot. But I think that he's right on the cusp of a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. Number 12, Justin Herbert. Dallas fans, I wanted to kind of put him in the top 10 just to piss y'all off, like put him ahead of Dak. But y'all hate him. I feel like every time people like make a comparison to Justin Herbert and Dak, Cowboys fans lose their mind. But I don't think Justin Herbert's all that great. I think that there's been a lot of, I think after his first year, I was like, all right, his coaching kind of screwed him that year. But after this year, I'm kind of just like, you had a good team. Like, you got to do something.
I'm over it. If you don't do nothing with Harbaugh, you're overrated.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to do something, bro. And you just like, I don't know. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely got the talent. He's got the arm strength. He's an athletic quarterback. He's a smart guy. But it feels like when the lights are brightest, he just kind of folds. And maybe that's unfair, but I just think that's where he is right now. Jordan Love is like a couple more games away from me putting him in the top 10. I'm gonna be honest with you. He was good last year throughout the season. He was pretty decent, obviously way better towards the end of the season. And then had that game against Dallas, but I don't think that that's enough just yet to put him in the top 10 over some of the other guys that I have there. But I think that he's, like I said, he's another couple game. Come back to me week 5 and see what he's done, and I might have him in the top 10. I really do think he's a really good quarterback. And it just feels like Green Bay they just grow these guys on trees at this point. Like, it feels like they always have another franchise quarterback ready to go. So I'm excited to see how far he can take this. But yeah, I think right now he's like right on the cusp. But I'm excited to see where he goes. Out of this list, I'm gonna be real with you. I'm excited to see where Jordan Love goes. I'm excited to see where Anthony Richardson goes, and I'm really excited to see where Tua goes because that's a crazy offense. So if he can stay healthy, he might be putting up ridiculous numbers. So yeah, I think that this is a fair list. I don't think that. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. How y'all feel about it?
I like your list. I ain't tripping on what you said. I like how you went more like this is how I'm just like eyeing and looking at the quarterbacks instead of he had 10 big time worthy quarter passes and 7.3 percentage. on the passes. I'm glad you didn't go PFF on me because I know you're working with him. So I'm glad you didn't go PFF on me. So I appreciate your list. If I'm looking at it, I see Justin Herbert. I see Tua. I see Trevor Lawrence. I just see Russell Wilson. I don't know about him being up there that high now. But it's
Our
good.
lists are
It's a
very
good list.
similar. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
it's a good
whenever
list.
we get to. Sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
I was gonna say our lists are very similar. You and I, Joe. There's a couple people that I had maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but I think for the most part we're on the same part. And like I think the mid list is pretty. It's hard. I think it's probably the
Yeah,
hardest
the
one
mid list.
of these. Exactly of all these conversations because any one of these guys can go up or down. It's a little bit different. It's easy to point out the worst 10 and the top 10, but the mid's kind of like they're all kind of about the same. They all have their warts. They all have different flaws in them.
Yeah, facts. So since James, I think, had probably the most different list,
Okay.
we'll go with you next, and we'll let
let's go.
George round it out. So James, you can go over your list now.
All right. Where's my list at? Waiting for it. Okay, there we go. All right, so here goes my list. Uh, Geno Smith, 19. I like how he came back. Um, the year prior, threw for almost 4,000 yards. I think he threw for like 3,300 yards this past season, had like 20 touchdowns or something like that. But I feel like he came back down to earth, right? In my opinion, I never felt like Geno Smith was going to be the hype. I always felt like he was a mid quarterback, right? So I feel like he's in this list, and the reason why he's at 19 is because I feel like even though he didn't have a good year like he had the year before. I think it was 20-9 as far as the TD to interception rate, and I feel like they can win with him. But I just feel like he's only taking you so far, so he's a mid guy. Baker Mayfield, he definitely had a resurgence, but I don't trust no Baker Mayfield. You feel me? I just don't. I thought he would never should have been a number one pick for real. I don't feel like his talent showed that, but he had a resurgence coming back. For what? Then you said Joe like 4,000 yards.
Yeah, he did good last year.
And they got to the playoffs. So, but I need to see it again. Okay, so that's where I'm at with Baker Mayfield. Let me see that another year, and then I'll think about really talk about maybe moving you up. But that could be one of them 1 year things, and you could fall back to earth how you was looking like at Cleveland. So we'll see.
Just
Go
for
ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but just for
No.
kind of context, he had his best year last year. I mean, most touchdowns, close to the best. I think he had the best touchdown to interception ratio in his career, most yards, highest rating, and obviously beat the Eagles in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, he had, like you said, a resurgence. I think that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, for sure. But once again, I need to see it again because I don't trust it. So we'll see again if he can do it again. Kyler Murray's next. You got a new, I think Gannon, kind of work with him. We'll see. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. now. Kyler Murray, I don't know about. Sometimes I just think, okay, man, he kind of nice, and the other times I look at him like, man, he overrated, dog. You know what I'm saying? He's that with me. One time I watch him, I'm like, yeah, he kind of slick. Then another game I watch him like, man, he whack. That's what I feel about Kyler Murray. I don't know why, I just do. So that when they were hyping him as when he came out of college and him being the next great, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't feel like he's never going to be a next great now. I just always feel like he's going to be a mid-level quarterback now, and that's just who he is. He's going to win you some games, but I don't know if he's truly going to take you over to the next level. So I don't know if he's a franchise guy or not. So that's what I feel about Kyler Murray. So Kirk Cousins, you know, I ain't never been hyped on Kirk Cousins. Even when he was in Washington and Mike Shanahan was trying to hype him against RG3, and I was like, man, we already know what he is. You know what I'm saying? When you looked at Kirk Cousins when he was at Michigan State, you just already knew what he was, right? He could throw the ball, right? He gonna throw some yards. You know he gonna throw some yards, but he ain't never doing nothing for your team. Like you gonna win some games with him, but nobody's ever fearing no Kirk Cousins ever. Not in my opinion. Nobody fears Kirk Cousins. So that's why you always gonna be a mid-level quarterback. Trevor Lawrence, I feel like you the same way. I feel like you overhyped. You're not a generational guy. I don't feel like that. I feel like if you get a real good coach, I think Peterson is good for him. So I think that helps him. I, where did he? I need to. Maybe I'm wrong, but where's this extreme arm and this extreme generational talent when you look at Trevor Lawrence? Am I wrong here, y'all? Do y'all look at generational when you look at Trevor Lawrence? Because that's what they said about him. I don't
No.
see that. You know what I mean? I just see you as a mid guy. You got the good receiver, Brian Neighbors Jr., I believe, from LSU. So you got some speed, you got some weapons. You feel me? But mm, you're a mid guy. Um, Tua, that's why these guys are mid level. Tua just, I ain't never been hyped on Tua either. When he came out of Alabama, I just never been hyped on him. I'm sorry, I can't, I can't get hyped on Tua. You're good because of weapons. I think it was great when they put that coach with you, Mike McDaniel's. That was a great fit for you.
Yeah.
If you had another fit, you would not be good, in my opinion. You don't have a strong arm; it's adequate, but we've seen him underthrow plenty. I know Tyreek and Hill and Waddle are fast, but I feel like you would underthrow other guys. Um, you didn't beat no good teams. Every time you played a good team, you lost. You know what I mean? Look at the record. Anytime they played good teams, they lost. And Tua didn't
Lost
do
to the Cowboys,
nothing.
the Eagles.
You know what I'm saying? And they should have lost us. Our defense gave it up because we beat them too at the end of the
Yeah, but no,
game.
you
You know
said
what I mean?
whenever they played a good team, they lost.
No, cut it out. So anyway, cut it out because we smacked y'all anyway. So bodies on, Tua just already. If they give him big money, okay, but I don't see Tua ever taking no team to no championship. Now, in my opinion.
I agree.
Now the only one I probably should have been was suspect on myself was Jared Goff. He probably could be in the top 10 because of his year and what they did. And he went over there, and so that probably could have. He probably could be only been my question mark because Jared Goff balled out. And I give him a lot of props. So that was probably my only question mark. But you know, I still need to see Jared Goff. Uh, you know, I he got a nice arm. Can't really evade the rush because I feel like if you put pressure on Jared Goff, he'd be choking
Yeah.
because he'll
Mhm.
throw them interceptions. You feel me? So I think that's the only my only trap my thing with Jared Goff. Like if you give him time, he nice, but when you pressure him because he don't really have mobility, he throws interceptions. Okay,
Yeah.
and I feel like if you really get after Jared Goff, you can rattle him. So I think that's the reason why I keep him like I teeter him, right? Um, Brock Purdy, I probably could have swapped him, but Brock Purdy got a great system. You know, now Brock Purdy's really good, but what if Brock Purdy was with the Browns, or what if Brock Purdy was with, the Giants?
Yeah.
Do I think Brock Purdy gonna be doing all that? I don't know. See what I'm saying? Like you got a dope system over there in San Francisco. You got ballers over there.
Yeah.
The whole squad, ballers. You with maybe the Colts. I don't know if Brock Purdy doing that.
I agree.
Mhm.
So I gotta keep you out of that top 10 from me. And I'm agree with Joe with Jordan Love, you knocking on the table. And one thing I'm gonna say about Green Bay, if you look at their quarterbacks, they let them sit. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they good. Jordan
Mhm.
Love said how many years behind Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers said how many years behind Brett Favre? And I believe when they got Brett Favre, he was sitting before Magic Bukowski got hurt. You feel me? He wasn't just inserted in the lineup. He was sitting. So maybe that's one of the reasons why them quarterbacks were so good in Green Bay. They let them sit and develop and watch, and then they come in and they ready and they hit the ground running. If you notice that, so maybe that's a method that they can look. But everybody's so impatient; they want to play these quarterbacks now. Sometimes waiting helps because you see how they're developing over Green Bay. So I think Jordan Love, in my opinion, has his toe right at the doorstep of that top 10. And like you said, this year can really cement it for him for me.
Yeah, I think that what George said about not putting the pressure on these young quarterbacks, I think that was the perfect way. I mean, obviously, when you're the number one, number two, number three pick, you probably have to. But if you can, I mean, look at the Eagles. It wasn't necessarily planned to go like this. Obviously, we thought that Carson Wentz might be that guy for a little bit longer, but I mean, they always are getting insurance policies, so it makes sense, grow somebody, groom them in your system, and try to get the best out of them. Before we give our opinion too much, James, you do have a super chat.
Oh yeah, appreciate my dog. for the 499 Holla JC Cowboys Network. Please go out there. If you're a Cowboys fan or you're just a fan in general of film breakdown, this dude, I'm gonna just tell you, I'm gonna just give you your flowers right here. His production is sick, dog.
Didn't he
He
do
did,
one of your nephew or your?
yeah, yeah, Juju. He
Yeah, I watched
did
that.
this last one, bro. Did you see that production on that, Joe?
Yeah, he killed it, bro. Shout out to him. Yeah, I didn't realize that's who it was. Shout out to JC. That was really dope.
He killed that, and go check out another one. He's good. So if you're a Cowboys fan and you're really into film breakdown and really like to see those type of things, man knows what he's talking about too. Please, I'm giving you a shout out. Please go sign up now. Go follow. Go subscribe. All that stuff. This man is the truth, and I appreciate what he did because that was a great video. But that's the super chat. I appreciate for the 499 holler, and please, I will support you like no other because you got some good stuff over there.
Yeah, and shout out to all 300 people still in the chat. You know what I'm saying? While you're here, definitely go show him love. But, show all the guys in the video love as well.
Sure,
go shout out to in the description. You'll see James' link. You'll see George's link. So definitely shout out to everybody. Hit that like, hit that subscribe wherever you are. But I like this list. I mean, it is similar to, I think all three of us kind of have pretty similar lists. The only thing I would say is I'm right there with you with Jared Goff where I want to see him do it again. But I think he's really good. I think Jared Goff is really good.
He is.
Yeah, I think that, that's saying a lot coming from me because especially when he came out with Carson Wentz, I was dogging. I was dogging Jared Goff. I did not think he was a good quarterback. He was in a perfect system. Everybody thought that McVay was the next coming to Jesus and whatever. So he to me, he really showed me something to be able to do what he did with Detroit. Now, don't get me wrong, they have weapons and they have a good system out there, but he was that guy. I mean, they didn't draft a quarterback because of him. There was a lot of conversation out there about drafting the future of the franchise, and they didn't. They paid Jared Goff, and they're going to keep him there. So shout out to Jared Goff, but I agree with you that, I do want to see it one more year.
He was done dirty, too, coming from Los Angeles, going over to Detroit. They sent him to exile, so he came over to Detroit thinking he was going to flop, and he landed on his feet. So I give him props there. I like Jared Goff.
It worked out for both teams. That's why you rarely see that, too.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, like I said, that was my only one where I thought, maybe I should rethink that one because, I'm 100% with you, Joe. That's just, when he came out and was like the top pick, I said, what, Jared Goff? He weak, bro. Like, he is not that guy. And then you saw when he came in, Fisher, he was terrible. But then, like you said, you got a really good coach. You got a guy that can really coach you up. And then you go to a Super Bowl. But then I'm thinking, man, you just had a really good coach. You put extremely amount of great talent with all you had to do was bus drive that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But to see you get traded, just like you just said, George, in exile, because that's what they thought. Well, we just gonna trade you to Detroit, and you just gonna be nothing. I feel like he's the reason why that they came up.
Yeah,
you had talent, but you had to have a quarterback to really guide that. Because he played it better than Matthew Stafford did in Detroit. You get what I'm saying as far as coming in and doing that. So that's where I feel like that's my pause as far as the quarterback, because for you to leave one team and win, and then he trades you and go to a team that's not that good, perennial, and then they start winning. Yeah, now I got to say you're a pretty good quarterback.
That's true. That's a good point.
He was close to bringing him to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's insane. That is insane. So yeah, shout out to him. It's going to be fun to see what happens with this team. I mean, let me ask y'all this question. Now that we said all that, right? He obviously got drafted by them. Was he right to draft him? Like, are we looking back and saying that? I mean, because we see what Carson Wentz became. So, I mean, was Jared Goff the right decision?
It's a great question.
I mean, he's, like I said, you leave. That's why I said with Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner was nice, right? We saw him with the Rams. He was nice, right? He left, he got hurt up over the Giants, but then he went right over to the Cardinals and won 2, and then went to a Super Bowl. So now I'm like, okay, Kurt Warner was legit, dog. Like he a legit quarterback. If you leave one team, in my opinion, and we're good, and then they get rid of you, you go to another team and you're good with that team too, you're a good quarterback, dog.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm actually looking at the draft class 2016.
I am too.
It seemed like I don't know if it's a weak draft class altogether. It's a pretty weak draft class because it goes from Jared Goff, it goes to Carson Wentz and Christian Hackenberg. Shout out to Penn State in 51. Let me see anyone else around here. I mean, looking at that, I mean, honestly, yeah, there's night and day. I think Jared Goff as as James alluded to, man, if you can actually win over time, the whole league's about winning, right? It doesn't have to be name recognition, doesn't have to be, the best arm or the fastest person in the league. But if you're taking teams and you're winning year in, year out, that's something to be said for. And taking the Rams to the Super Bowl and then also taking the Lions to the NFC Championship, 2 different franchises over 2 different teams, and putting up big years. He had a big year under McVay too, 30 touchdowns under McVay, 30 touchdowns this year. That's something that means he can produce at this level. So he's doing something right? So that's why I give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be fun to see what he does next. I mean, because like we all said, he's right there. He's right there. And I think that's a really cool story. If he was anywhere else, it would probably get him way more attention. But nobody wants to show love to Detroit. So I hope he makes a little history. If the Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, I wouldn't be mad if they did. I'll say that.
I was rooting for Detroit, so I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I wanted to see them do something. So last but never least, you know what I'm saying? That's our dog. So we got the Washington Commanders representative, one hand up. It's funny. I'm doing before we get into that, I know it's a tangent, but I'm doing like a Madden franchise league, just one last one before tomorrow. Yeah, and I'm actually the Commanders, so it's actually been kind of fun playing with Jaden Daniels. But
there you go.
You got your list. Talk us through it, brother.
So this list, man, it's crazy. We were talking about it. It's like you kind of have to factor everything in: physical talent, the situation that they're in, longevity, production last year. So there's definitely a lot to factor into 11 through 19. Baker Mayfield, man, we gave you this list a couple of weeks ago. Now that I've dived deeper into Baker Mayfield, I kind of feel like I did him a little bit dirty, man. He had a good year last year, as he talked about it, 30 touchdowns last year. He elevated Mike Evans. Mike Evans had 13 touchdowns last year, 1,200 yards. People kind of sleeping on that. So Baker Mayfield did have a good year, but I guess the concern is, the thought that I had in the back of my mind is, very similar to Geno Smith. Was that just had one outlier a year? Is it going to happen again? So I give him his flowers. I think Baker Mayfield did a good job, but can he do it again? Is kind of my big long-term concern. So he could have been higher, but I actually like Baker Mayfield. I think he's a competitor. So if he does good again, more power to him. But do it. Show me twice. Don't just do it one time for me. So that's Baker there. Kyler, just like James talked about, he is so polarizing, man. When he's healthy, he could be an MVP candidate. I know it's kind of hard to say a couple of years ago, and but the problem is he's not healthy. He gets injured. He had a crazy torn ACL the year before last year. Spent most of the offseason rehabbing and came in halfway through last season. Came back, played okay, but came back kind of playing subpar. But I think Kyler Murray is a fun watch because there's someone that small and can create on his own and can throw the ball. I think he's just kind of fun to watch. But I still think he has something to prove because I think now we're starting to see a new wave of mobile quarterbacks, right? Kyler Murray isn't the only one. We have Anthony Richardson now. We have Jaden Daniels now, Lamar now. Even Justin Fields, when he was playing quarterback, there was mobile quarterbacks. So he's not unique in that regard, but he is interesting. And we'll see what happens with him and Marvin Harrison too. I think Marvin Harrison Jr., he's elite, man. One of the best prospects out there. Can Kyler Murray feed him the ball? I'm kind of curious how that will go. So I think the reason why Kyler Murray is low is the question marks that surround him. Aaron Rodgers, man, I think he's 17 because of respect. But guys, I think he's washed, man. I think he's 40 years old, coming off that Achilles. His mind's on other things right now. He's focusing on going to dark caves and eating mushrooms. I don't even know if he's even into freaking football anymore, right? So I'm I don't even know what's going on with him. More power to him. When Aaron Rodgers was on the Packers, he's one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch because I thought he was one of the most athletic, not like Lamar Jackson athletic, but in regard to throwing the ball. He could flick the wrist, man. He could throw it on different platforms, throw it sidearm. Aaron Rodgers was fun to watch. So I really enjoyed watching him, but I think he's on the twilight of his career. I don't know if he's really into it anymore, and we'll see what happens. The Jets a defensive team. Garrett Wilson's interesting, but Breece Hall's pretty interesting, but can he elevate everybody else? So Aaron Rodgers is kind of I don't know about him, but we'll see what happens there. Trevor Lawrence, I think he's at a perfect spot, sitting there at 16. We don't know what's going to happen with him. He was deemed generational. He was the number 1 rated high school quarterback in all of the United States of America. He went to Clemson, was undefeated. He won some championships there. Then he comes to the NFL. He's supposed to be generational, but he's been up and down. So I think it's interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing him be successful. I think it'd be kind of cool to watch him and Anthony Richardson kind of grow in that division together. But he's up and down. Like, we blamed Urban Meyer early in his career. We kind of put the blame on him for his development of Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, Doug Peterson is a pretty good coach there as now. He's had some talent. He has Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas, who I love out of LSU's there as well. So he has some talent, and this is a make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. Like, are you going to take that next step, or are you going to kind of stay in this like whole purgatory here? Because I got intrigued by Trevor Lawrence during that playoff game, and I think they were down 21 points to the Chargers, and he drove them back and won. And I was like, that light bulb hit off for me. I'm like, Trevor Lawrence is now he's arrived. I thought he was going to kind of turn the corner, but he hasn't done that for me yet. So there's still question marks there. Anthony Richardson.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but with Trevor Lawrence, it's so weird because it's like he makes unbelievable throws.
Mm-hmm.
And then he misses a 5-yard flat. Like that's like that. I feel like that's exactly what Trevor Lawrence is. It's like he does such amazing things, and then he does the most simple things and does it wrong. It's like you can't put your finger on it sometimes. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So Trevor Lawrence is kind of all over the place. Anthony Richardson, man, I'm pumped. I'm really excited to watch him because he's like baby Cam Newton to me. I love Anthony Richardson. I think like coming out, he was really polarizing. Coming out of Florida, they said he was inaccurate, but also one of the most on that RAS score, like 9.99, is that elite, top of the level kind of quarterback there. I think he's super interesting. I'd love to see him shine. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be kind of cool to watch that type of quarterback again. I play fantasy football and I have in a dynasty league, and he was like, people don't realize he had over his first 4 games, he had 7 total touchdowns rushing and passing. He actually was like starting off hot into the NFL. So like he actually had a trajectory, but you got to protect yourself. He hurt his shoulder and he was gone for the year. So can he do it again? I hope so. I think it'd be kind of fun to watch him in that division. That'd be cool. Jordan Love, I guess I'm a little bit lower on him than you guys are. Like, I'd like to see him be successful too. I think the NFC North is a great division to watch this year. My thing with Jordan Love is he was 50-50. He was kind of weak the first half of the year, then he hit hard the second half of the year. And people remember that the hot streak going into the playoffs, more power to him. He deserved it. He earned it, right? Like 30 touchdowns. And, he has no-name wide receivers that he's elevating as well. So more power to Jordan Love. I just want to see it again before I kind of crown him like top 10, top 12, right? So that's kind of where I'm at there. Cousins, Mr. Stat Patter right there. But, I guess there's a little bit of love from him because he was my Washington guy. Kirk Cousins, he puts up 30 touchdowns every single year. 30, man. And that's kind of a rare achievement to see in the NFL. Yeah. Granted, he's on the Vikings. He had Jettas in the, for Minnesota. He's walking into a really cool situation in Atlanta. I think Atlanta's going to be fun to watch this year, too. I'm a Commanders guy, but, dude, I love the NFL. I love just watching football. So Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, Kirk Cousins, even Penix is a backup. I think the Falcons are going to be fun to watch, and I think it'd be kind of cool to watch Kirk Cousins do that. And, I think 13 is a good feat for him because he's producing every single year, which is a hard thing to do in the NFL. But, we know that he is a system quarterback. He's not somebody that's going to elevate the team. So you can't put Kirk Cousins top 10 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Pointing fingers, Kirk Cousins is looking at Tua because they're the same kind of person, right? They're accurate. They throw in rhythm. They know how to run an offense, but can you elevate that offense? Like Tua has a track team surrounding him. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devin Achane. He has Raheem Mostert. He has, one of the most fun offenses to watch. Plus, McDaniel being the offensive coordinator, he's more of a point guard in that system. Can you elevate him? Maybe, maybe not. But that's kind of why I have him at 12. And then finally, Purdy. I actually like Purdy. I think Purdy is, I think he's kind of overrated on the national landscape. Like if you put him on the Giants, if you put him on the Browns or any other, whatever, the Jets, is he going to really elevate the team? No, but that's not what it is. He's on the 49ers. He's going to sign a long-term contract, and most of his career is going to be in San Francisco, right? And I don't see Shanahan going anywhere. So the Purdy we're seeing now is the Purdy we're going to see for the next 5 years. So that's where you have to kind of look at where you're going to judge him. And I think Purdy runs the system well. I think you got to give him props. See, people hate on his fact that he is Mr. What's the word for it? The last pick of the draft, whatever.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant. People hate on him because he's Mr. Irrelevant, but dude, he overachieved, and I think that's kind of we got to give props to that, right? It's kind of cool to give props to Mr. Irrelevant. So I don't mind him being at 11. He could probably be even higher depending on this year. He has the best weapons in the league, man. Brendan Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, CMC. He's surrounded by talent with a great offensive coordinator, and he runs it well. So, and people sleep. He had 30 touchdowns. I think he was either first or second in the NFL. He went in second or third, actually. I think Dak was the leader in the passing touchdowns, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. so Purdy's second or third, man. You can't hate on that. So that's kind of where I'm at here. Like, and hopefully, if he does another little big year again this year, about most of the top 10 for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with Purdy. So I don't know. What do y'all think about my list?
I respect that. Before we give our opinion, you do have another super chat. This guy wanted to lie.
What you talking about? Hurts is mid, should be mid on this list. Hey, what I'm gonna say about Hurts is, Joe should really give me some props on that because remember I told him, I said let's see it another year after that Super Bowl run. I said let's see it another year and let's see if he does what he does again. And if he does it again, then I'm like, okay, yeah, it Hurts. But Hurts gonna put pause in people's minds.
I think it's the turnovers with Hurts. If Hurts can calm down with the turnovers, I mean he ran our offense. Our offense was all over the place, but he put up points. He put up numbers, but it was turnovers and a lot of turnovers. But yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens this year. As far as Carmi's list, I like it. I mean, I think that you opened my eyes a little bit with Aaron Rodgers. I think foreshadowing probably put him a little bit too high. I didn't put him that high, but I probably put him a little bit too high. Because you are right. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what he does with the Jets. I don't even know if he wants to play. There were talks about him being the president and stuff. Like the stuff that he's been involved with this offseason is just so out there. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. The Jets put a lot into him. We'll see what happens. But they have a really good team. So if he does go out there and play, I think that he's going to have an impact. I think that with the guys that you have out there, wide receiver-wise, you got Wilson out there. You got a really good running back with Brees. You got a really good defense. So, I mean, he should be good if he goes out there and plays, but I guess that's a big if. But I like the list. I do like the list. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be fun to watch if he stays healthy. I think that's the biggest thing, if he can stay healthy out there. And with Steichen, it's going to be crazy to see what he does with him. But, yeah, I like it. I respect it.
With Roger. Sorry, one last thing, James. With Rodgers, those types of quarterbacks, these guys have been around for a minute. They win with their mind, man. So that's kind of the one thing I go back and forth with. Like Aaron Rodgers will walk out and he's basically a coach on the field. Maybe he might not have that physical talent, but he's going to know what that cover 3, that cover 2, that cover 4 looks like, and he can basically shred it apart too. That's the only thing I'm worried about with him. But I got the age is definitely a concern, and the passion for it, I think, is also a concern too. Go ahead,
what do y'all think? I'm sorry, James. Go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead.
What do y'all think is more important? Having the mental capacity, you know what I'm saying, to be able to read the defenses and know or the special talents?
Mental.
I think mental too, man. I think a lot of the players athletically are pretty damn close to me. There's some special athletic people, but I think most people can throw the ball pretty well. And if you're playing at this level, you can do most of the things you need. You have the baseline to basically do whatever you want in the NFL. But if you see things slow and get rid of the ball quickly, then that's you can definitely succeed in this league.
Yeah, that'll mask, in my opinion, a lot of deficiencies. When I can go to Cooper Rush. He won when nobody thought he was going to win any games. Obviously, it wasn't just him. You had the defense play really good. Other factors came in. But if you're a very intelligent quarterback and you really study the game, you know when to release that ball. You study those routes. You talk to your players like, hey, 1, 2, 3, bam, that ball's getting out. You know what I mean? You can and play anticipation game. Look at Peyton Manning. He didn't have the most physical skills, and what was one of his reasons that he was great? His mental. He studied the game like no other. We've seen tons of quarterbacks if they're good, good physical capabilities. Look at Brady. Did he have any physical capabilities like that? No, but he knew the game. You know what I'm saying? What's up, my dog, Rome? You know what I mean? So I definitely feel like it's mental. But me, looking at your list, I think the thing with me is, too, with Aaron Rodgers, because I agree with George. He opened my eyes in that aspect of, he shouldn't be in there. That's who I was looking at the flop, was him and Jared Goff. Him and Jared Goff were my flop guys. So those were either the guys I was going to flip. You know what I mean? So that's where I was having but I feel the reason why I would, still mess with him, because he still got an arm. Even how old as he is, he still has an arm. And just like you just said, George, he can read, he knows how to, he done seen it all. He go up that damn line of scrimmage and he see it. So just in that, and he got weapons, he still should be successful. It's just how's his team gonna play? You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
I don't feel like he's that leader guy. I feel like he's not a leader like that. He's gotten by with those immense talents, and
Mhm.
that's what's the interesting part with New York because he ain't really the leader. We've seen that in Green Bay. He didn't win nothing like that, and they had squads. You feel
Mhm.
me? Um, so that's the only thing with me with him is leadership.
Yeah.
And you have another super chat, James,
Okay, all
from
right, keep them
Hawaii.
bad boys in there. I like that. Which one? Which,
From
ooh, we got.
Hawaii, they got
Ooh, ooh, oh,
we
that's
got
my dog,
Hawaii
Young Will.
fans.
Yeah, yeah, that's my dog, Young Wilson. He been down since the very beginning, but James Aloha just stopped by. Keep up the great work, all of y'all. Just want to come by. We must play with heart, brain, and toughness on both sides of the ball. Aloha, that's my guy. Shout out to the $10 holla. But we'll see. That's all I'm gonna say about that team. Everything that you described, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but maybe it might happen more with Mike Zimmer being the defensive coordinator because I do feel like he will bring some more toughness that I don't feel like Dan Quinn did. I feel like Dan Quinn, not to hate George, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's a soft coach. I always felt like he's a
Mm.
soft coach. When they brought him over to Dallas, me and Boss Cowboys did a show before they brought him over and said he was a soft coach. But the reason why the Cowboys did it was because he's a named guy and he coached the Legion of Boom. He helped coach the Legion of Boom. But I don't
Mhm.
think he wasn't the main guy. It was Gus Bradley. He came. He got that team after Gus Bradley. Gus Bradley had
Yeah,
that team before him. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
when you look at him in Atlanta, it's early. He did good early, but what happens? He be choking in the end. That the most worst gaff ever in Super Bowl history. And then we seen him in games. So I'm just saying, George, y'all got him. We ain't scared of Dan Quinn, dog.
There's a little tingling bitterness. I can hear every
yeah, I
time I come
love
on the
this.
show. It's all good
Usually
though.
it's
It's
me and him
good.
fighting.
Yeah,
Usually
yeah,
it's me
yeah.
and him.
I'm just chilling. I don't even know where Dan Quinn came. We're talking about quarterbacks. It's all good. I got it.
God, George, like, bro, I'm just chilling.
We're talking
I ain't
about
trying to
Bill.
fight.
Okay, all right, got it. Yeah, it's cool. We'll see what's up. We'll see what's up. But yeah, it's all good.
Shout out to Young Wilson though, bro. We might have to do a best of enemies in Hawaii if he's out there. You know.
Yeah, please host us, man. We're down for that.
My boy say he likes beaches. You know what I'm saying? We could go out to one of the most beautiful ones.
Absolutely.
True.
Yeah.
So that's our mid tier list. Next week is going to be interesting. All right. If you guys come here to watch me and James yell at each other, next week is your week. I know a lot of people want to know what we think of Hurts and Dak. And I know I'm excited to kind of hear what George thinks about our takes on that and obviously see his list. Y'all got anything to say? I mean, we got 350 people in here. So shout out to all y'all. Be sure to hit hit that subscribe wherever you are. But yeah, I mean, next week gonna be interesting. Y'all got anything y'all want to say to these beautiful people?
No, thank you for the chat, man. You guys are blowing it up consistently. There hasn't been 1 minute where we haven't seen people going up and down. I appreciate it. Being the commander, I'm the outsider walking into this group, and you guys have welcomed me with open arms. So I appreciate that. So much love to everybody in the chat. I appreciate it.
We love you, George. We love you.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to shout him out before you give your final words, but.
Yeah, for sure. Love that you're on the channel because it's good. You came in at the right time because you got a new coach, you got some hope over there, and it's going to be very interesting. So actually, going to be some real competitive games. So I'm excited for it. But once again, we're not scared of nobody from no Dan Quinn. Okay, we're not scared of y'all. Okay, we're not worried about y'all. And then you Eagles, man, we ain't thinking about y'all. Y'all got unknown, just like we got unknown. But I ain't trust me, I ain't hyping us. It's just going to be I feel like it's going to be a real packed NFC East this year. For real, I feel like it's not going to be that runaway division this year. I think we ain't worried about the Giants, but I really think this is going to be a 3-team thing. And once again, not hyping Dan Quinn, but the first couple of years, you got nothing to lose. You might be sneaky, win some games out there that nobody thought you would win. So I think that's what make the race tight later down in the season. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see.
It's all about Daniels, man.
Yeah.
It's all about, if Daniels is good, it's going to be a fun ass season for all three of us. It'll be a fun little Sunday.
If Daniels comes in because he looked like an RG3 clone, the way he built, the way he plays. So if he comes in and does like a RG3 thing, it's going to change the whole damn. It's going to throw the whole damn division topsy turvy if he comes in balling. and it's all on him for real. For real, if he
Mhm.
comes in balling, the whole team, you got a good squad around him. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be interested to see. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so next week we're going to do our top 10, and I might add this because I kind of like this comment. He said we should do a top 10 who you would want to lead your team with a game-winning drive.
Ooh.
Maybe do like a top 5 and add that to next week. We'll talk about it, and we'll talk it in the back. That's an interesting thing. And Rome, I'm not going to talk. You're going to be actually surprised with my list. Everybody, I think James and George already saw my list. Maybe not, but
No,
y'all will be surprised. Y'all gonna be surprised. I did not hate on Dak. I try to be honest, and I think it's very fair where I put him. I think y'all be very surprised, to be honest. I was surprised.
Okay. Look at.
Sometimes I look at the list and I'm like, did I write this? Who? I thought maybe George took over my. I mean, James took over my computer or something. Like, who wrote this?
Oh, okay. He really up there then.
Yeah, he's up there, man. I gave respect where respect is due. I've been saying it even on Twitter. But I don't really understand the conversation, the back and forth. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is at this point. I think Dak has shown. We'll talk about it next year. Next week. But other than that, man, I appreciate everybody that has been in this chat, man. We're still at 360. So wherever you are, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. Go into the description if you're on YouTube, and definitely go sub up my man George. Go sub up James. Throw me a sub. That would be nice as well. But other than that, I have nothing else for you guys. Y'all got anything else y'all want to tell them? Y'all good? They seem good. Y'all know what it is. That's my guy, James. That's my brother, George. And we are looking for the outro right now because my computer is slow. But we are the best enemies. Peace.
We're brothers. We're happy and we're